Hello and welcome to Day 5, Understanding Labels Part 2. So in today's discussion, we're going to be talking a bit more about what it means when something is fortified or has additional nutrients or vitamins added to it, and is that really healthy? So really, to begin this discussion, we're going to look at this natural vitamin C versus ascorbic acid to display this so that you can get a better idea of what we're talking about here. You can see visually that just the natural vitamin C has just some life about it, where the ascorbic acid is going to be a chemical form. So anytime you're looking at nutrients, there's what's called a whole food form of that's going to show up in actual food forms, like vegetables, fruits, grains in their true foods form. And then there is synthetic or a chemical form, which means that it's being artificially made. So it's kind of like a prescription almost, where it tricks the body into thinking those nutrients are there, but that doesn't actually have all of the true food nutrients to heal, support, and recover the system. So I talk about this a lot with supplements, but this is absolutely true when we're looking at labels as well. So when you're looking at a supplement fact or the back of a label, a nutrition fact, anytime that the nutrient is written out, like here we see vitamin C, that is usually an indication that it's synthetic or chemical. And down here, when we have this proprietary blend, you see those actual ingredients. So when we're looking at a food label, those are going to be just the true ingredients. And then over here on a whole food version of a vitamin C, you can see that the vitamin C, or the chemical form, the ascorbic acid, is substantially lower here. So we only have 17 milligrams here, where on the proprietary blend on the whole food version, we've got 595 milligrams of food-based nutrients. And so anytime we're really trying to look at things from a healthy perspective, we want to have the food form and not the synthetic chemical form. So in our part 1, we talked about comparing different cereals. Today we're going to go with our milk comparisons so that we can kind of start to help you see this idea through here. The first thing we notice when we're looking at regular milk is that our sugars are quite high. We're getting 11 grams of sugar just from the milk itself. Milk is not always going to be a great way to go because of that. Also, a whole nother discussion, but once milk has been pasteurized, it actually creates a lot of mucus in the body and wreaks a lot of havoc. So most people, even if they don't realize it, actually have an intolerance to pasteurized milk, and really is not the most helpful way of getting a type of milk into the system. Next, we're going to go down to our ingredients, and we see that we've got this vitamin A palmitate. Written out like that, vitamin A palmitate is going to be a key indicator that it's synthetic. And then vitamin D3. Sometimes you're going to have these synthetic nutrients in there as a form of a preserving, which is not terrible. Also, vitamin D is kind of touted as being something that milk is high in, and so a lot of times they're going to add it in because of that, where it's not actually coming through the milk itself in such a high form, but you are seeing it because it's added in here. So in this version of, so when we're looking at the nutritional facts on a straight milk, there actually are not many ingredients added in, which is ideal, but you are going to be high in sugar and you're going to have that mucus building agitation that happens in the digestive tract. A lot of people will then go to an alternative, like an almond milk, and what we see here is that the sugar is much lower, our fat is about the same, but then we look down here and there are all of these fortified added in vitamins and minerals that are coming in here. A lot of times we think, and they are marketed to be a benefit, but really when they're coming in this synthetic form, they actually become more of a burden on the system. So when you're looking at a higher quality product, you really are trying ideally to find things that don't have these. Now sometimes you're not going to get away from it. I admittedly have this exact same almond milk in our home, but knowing that these additional additives are in there It's not something that I try to use on a daily basis, and I try to rotate it through because ultimately it builds up a burden on the system when you're bringing so many chemicals into the diet on a daily basis. And then when you start looking at multiple ingredients, you start seeing how many foods have this fortification going on, and that is not helpful. One of the other things I want to point out is that in the previous slide on the milk, we had vitamin D3, which is a form of D3 your body can utilize. But in a lot of these boxed milks, they're using vitamin B2, which can actually become toxic to the body. Same thing with this boxed coconut milk. So our boxed coconut is over on the right side. And again, we see this vitamin and mineral blend, which a lot of times we think is a good thing, but that is actually not the ideal. The more often we can avoid these chemical forms, the better. But what's interesting, and is another helpful label to differentiate, is that we have this Thai organic coconut milk, and when we look at its ingredients, we are actually down to just 3. And that's really the ideal. Just like we were discussing with our cereals, the fewer ingredients we have, the more that are just food-based, the better. And that's really what we're going for. Also, what's really incredible about this canned coconut milk is we're getting 12 grams of fat and only 1 gram of sugar. So you're going to be sustaining energy really well on something like that. We have very low amount of additives going into it, and that is going to be the ideal. So, biggest takeaway from today's Understanding Labels Part 2 is recognizing that the fewer ingredients, the better. We actually do not want to have many products that are fortified with minerals and nutrients. Another thing to take note of on this topic is that a lot of times, especially with breads and things like that, they will actually bleach the grain, so all of the nutrients are then removed from it. So this is very, very true, specifically with white bread, is that they will bleach the wheat, strip it of all of its nutrient value, and then they fortify it and add those essentially synthetic or fake minerals and nutrients back in so that they can claim it as being healthy when it's really not providing you with any whole food nutrition. And that's what's really going to be helpful and supportive to the system. Big thing today is just recognizing the difference between food-based nutrition versus these synthetic or chemical forms of vitamins and minerals they're adding in to make it seem like it's a healthy product, but really is not the ideal. And there you have it. I look forward to talking with you next time. Have a wonderful day.